This is Gigi Sabat, and you're listening to the Walk With Me podcast. Welcome back to the show, Zoe.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always good to be back.
Such an honor to have you here today. Now, why don't you start off by telling the audience where you're from?
So I live in sunny Clearwater, Florida.
I love it. Tell us a little bit more about your passion in regards to wealth.
Well, I was actually going to say, since we were last on this podcast, I actually expanded my business pretty much nationwide, all the way up the East Coast. I have an office location also in Boston, and we're opening up one in Nashville, Tennessee, and in New York, actually, Buffalo. So, but yes, I have agents all across the East Coast, which is really exciting. And I'll be expanding also all the way across the country in California. Yes, I do. I'm a financial entrepreneur. I own a few agencies and businesses in this area. Everything from life insurance, annuities, long-term care, through debt relief, credit repair, student loans. And even I have financial advisors, like licensed financial advisors, who help people with retirement plans and so forth. And we really do everything you can think of, like from a basic financial need or plan.
I love it. And what if someone right now who's listening to this message feels stuck in regards to not just in their lives, but maybe even in as far as finances go?
Well, I think the first step is realizing that you have a problem and that you want to fix it. The next thing is really feeling like you can talk about it, right? And reach out to someone who is understanding, super knowledgeable, and really has the tools and is not going to judge you, but really just care about helping you get through that. And, I am my own personal success story in all of these areas. I did not get educated on finances. Everything that I learned, I saw from, my parents, people around me. My dad was an entrepreneur, and we went from totally broke, no money, to making lots of money, but he never got educated. He never knew about taxes or credit or any of this stuff. So I actually went through 3 bankruptcies with him in his life. And so I was very determined to get educated myself and never having to go through all that process myself. And getting myself out of debt, getting myself to stop depending on credit cards early in my 20s, building a big business, making multiple 6 figures, building a 7-figure business, creating a legacy for myself, my daughter. I've been a single mom. I've been through it all. I've lost 150 pounds. I mean, I transformed my life. So I definitely know what it takes. I've been through all the same problems that everyone has a story. But I definitely feel like I have a lot to offer people who maybe can relate to some of these issues and problems, whether it be your body and your personal, like how you view yourself and your confidence and your self-worth, all the way through having money, building something from nothing, being successful, all of that.
I love it. Tell us a little bit more about how you got yourself out of debt.
Well, one thing that I learned, right? I decided, okay, listen, I'm going to just start learning about this. And I decided I was going to get my financial licenses. I decided that I was going to start taking classes. I decided that, and I was working 3 or 4 jobs, not like I had time. Okay. I was just making it happen, taking care of my daughter, all of that. But I was like, I need to learn how to do this. I cannot follow this track that my father went through. Unfortunately, he was never educated. He didn't have the help. And so I started with that. And then as I learned, I was like, wow, everyone needs this. So I decided to make it what I did for a living, and one of the things I learned really early on was that most people, debt by definition is psychotic. It causes your attention to be fully fixed in the past. And when you talk to someone who's in debt, all they want to do is get out of debt, right? But what I learned was that debt was a solution to a problem that shouldn't have existed. If you had money, you wouldn't have gone into debt to start with. So I realized really early on that I needed to start saving to invest or investing. at the same time as paying off my debt, because at some point my debt's here, my savings are here. At some point, these things were going to pass like ships in the night, and my money and my savings and my investments would be here, and my debt would be down here or gone. And then I wouldn't have to constantly go in and out of debt, because that's what people end up doing. You know, they get into this debt cycles and they're like charging their cards up, paying them off, charging them off, paying them off, charging them up to the point when they can't pay them anymore, losing them, having bad credit for a long
Oh, we seem to
over
have
again. Oh, did it just cut out for a second?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so charging all their cards up and then having to start up all over again, you know, and having bad credit and then having to recover from that. And I would just see people go through these cycles. And then when I would sit down with people and consult them on their debt and on their credit, some people had done like bankruptcies or settlement programs or credit repair 3-4 times in their life. Like every 5 to 10 years, they're resetting and they're going through the same thing. So what I did, I started with a very little bit. And that's what made me so passionate about getting involved in the industry, because I wanted to offer products where people who had $10 could get started. $10, you know, because usually people, when you're talking about financial advisors and investment products, you have to have a minimum to even have someone sit down with you. You have to pay. I know I sat down with somebody. You have to pay them $10,000 to give you advice, right? And I was like, no. How do I help everyone? How do I have a model, a business model that anyone can get help? And so I became very passionate about that, and I started this business, and I think it's been 8 years now. Okay. And I've built it really awesome. I built it really big, and I'm really proud of where I've come from, where I am now. But I started my own savings habit, and I just started it, and I started a couple $100 a month. And then I did it while I paid my debt down. I haven't used credit cards for like 7 years now or something. And it really did happen. It happened where my savings and investments became so high that I don't even need to do that anymore. Now I'm not against good use of debt. I mean, there's a lot of great uses of debt. There's, you know, financing for real estate, there's business stuff, you know, like, but I'm just talking about using credit cards for purchases, or like, you know, not making the money first, or needing to do it for emergencies. Like, I don't feel like people should have to do that. You know, that's not the way to live, right? And so, you know, I really help people. I coach them to get through that process while at the same time as building their wealth, because if we do that, then they don't have to go through this all the time. They can decide when they use or not use debt or credit, you know?
Very powerful. Now, you mentioned
Yeah.
earlier that you started off with just a little bit, Zoe. How
Yes.
important was your faith in continuing to move forward? I mean, you had to think to yourself, is this even possible? But then you had the faith, and you remembered to keep the faith, and you kept moving forward. Tell us a little bit more about your journey.
Okay, well, I actually realized that it was a habit, you know, because I by doing by getting myself financially educated and looking at math and numbers and learning things that were hard for me, they didn't come naturally at all. I just realized the power of a little bit over a long time, you know, and I understood how the stuff worked, and I also realized that there was a difference between rich and wealthy people, right? And I also looked at it and I was like, well, if you look at it as a habit, right? If you look at it as something that you always do, that's how you are able to be in a position of being wealthy, right? And it's the same thing when you're healthy, right? It's not like you only take care of yourself. Sometimes you're continuously taking care of yourself. You know, you're eating well, you have proper nutrition, you exercise, you do all these things, right? And when I looked at like good financial habits and investing and stuff at the same habit as brushing your teeth every morning, then I realized that it was just something that I just needed to adopt as what I do. Good habits, good routines. And that is what took me out of that really bad condition and moved me into a better condition. And it's a constantly improving, better situation on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis.
And there's a saying for that, correct? Your health is your wealth.
100%. I mean, if you want to lose 150 pounds like I did, you have to consistently do disciplined, workable, correct activities over a long period of time. And you have to keep doing it, you know? And it was eating well and exercising pretty much every day. You know what I mean? Like, um, and how good you are at sticking to that, and how consistent and how much you do over a period of time determines how fast you succeed, you know, and how good your results are. You know, you can do it faster, you can do it slower, you know, but it doesn't happen overnight. Although when you look back at it, it doesn't actually seem like that much time passed. You know, I was able to accomplish my weight loss in less than a year, but I was really dedicated. You know, if I had maybe done it a little less dedicated, it probably would have taken twice as long. But I just did it, you know, and it's the same thing with investing. You know, you can do an investment plan that slowly gets you over a long period of time, or you can be a little bit more aggressive and get there faster, you know. I mean, we are dealing with a body, okay? And obviously, when we're dealing with like health, you don't want to lose it too fast, right? Like there are some rules you have to apply. But for the most part, you can do something pretty consistently in a doable, healthy way, you know, as long as you just keep at it.
I love it. Now I want to circle back because earlier you mentioned as well that you doubled your income. How can
Yeah.
folks do the same?
Well, I would say that I credit me doubling my income to handling this area in my life, which at the time was my weight and my, because it affected my self-esteem, it affected my productivity, it affected how I physically felt, it affected how I allowed myself to have things. And it made me feel very held in and non-confident. And um, it's amazing how when I really address this area of self-growth, right? How much better I did in every area of my life. And I feel like for a lot of people could relate to that. They know that if they handle some area in their life that's not, that they know they need to fix, or for themselves to be happy, right? They'll notice that everything else in their life also improves, you know, as a result of that. And I think it made me more able to produce and get more done, and reach more, and more confidence, and everything kind of aligns with that, you know. For I'm sure there's a lot of people that have that, the self-confidence issues because of their weight, but I think that people have other areas of their life, not just weight, that cause the same situation, you know. Like maybe they have something else, some other thing that people don't know that they battle with, and it prevents them from really being allowing themselves to be successful.
Very true. Now you
Mhm.
mentioned at one point you may not have been confident. Now, what would you tell someone who's battling with their confidence right now?
I personally think that it first is a mindset and a decision point to do something about whatever it is. You know, it could be their finances, it could be their health, it could be something, right? And you're going to feel better and more confident the more that you do something about it. Okay. Like I feel a lot better about myself if I, even if I'm not perfect, and I still feel like I have weight to lose, and I still feel like I haven't achieved my ideal endpoint, right? But as long as I'm moving in that direction and making progress on it, I feel way better about myself. And everything just gradiently improves, right? Um, the worst is if I'm not doing anything and I feel like I put on 5 pounds, or whatever it is. I'm just giving that as an example. It's not the same for everyone. And I'm just eating junk, and I'm, you know, not exercising. I feel the worst, even if I haven't even, it's not like I fell back completely. You know, I still have all of the win that I have had, you know, at to this point. But if I'm at least on track and I know that I'm doing the right actions to get me to my end goal, I feel so much better about myself. And that increases everything. My confidence, I feel good. I feel like I'm at least going in the right direction. And I feel like that's the same with finance too. Like you feel way better as long as you're moving in the right direction instead of going backwards, right? If you're going backwards or you're regressing from a better condition, like you feel terrible about yourself, like whatever it is, because everyone has different standards for themselves. But you know when you feel good, you know when you feel like you're going in the right direction, or you know when you have a weakness in something. Um, Anyway, that's how I feel about it.
I love it. Now, in regards to business, let's talk about business for a moment here.
Yes.
What would you tell someone who may have faced a challenge in their business right now, and they're even thinking about giving up on their business?
Well, I mean, that's a whole broad subject, right? But whatever it is that you feel you need to attack or address in your business, there might be a specific area or a specific pain point. I'm a firm believer in connecting up with someone that you feel can maybe mentor you or help you or has walked your path, right? Or might even specialize in an area that you're weak in. So I've always found coaches and mentors are so important. That's in business and in life. I think on my weight loss, for example, hooking up with a personal trainer who was really good at helping me go on a plan and keep me accountable was really important. A business coach is the same way. If you're in a specific field, I would find someone that has maybe a successful business in the same area that you would love to emulate, or who would be really understanding and knowledgeable in whatever area that you're weak in. I feel like successful people will find mentors, will find successful people to learn from, will partner up with people that complement them really well. I think that's really important. Staying connected with podcasts that are uplifting, that have good information, reading books. You can be connected with mentorship. You can get one-on-one coaching. I mean, there's so much, especially with technology, it's so easy to get information and to connect up with people.
I agree. Obtain a coach. For example, I also have a fitness coach as well. I've been training for
Yeah.
okay, so we're
Yeah.
on the same page there. I agree. Obtain a coach for sure. Now, Zoe,
Yeah.
any last words for the audience?
No, I mean, I've made it literally my passion to help people build strong, enduring businesses, to overcome obstacles in their finances, in their life. I have built I mean, I just started off with something so basic like helping people with life insurance, and I have really expanded out to pretty much the entire area of finance. And I actually have multiple companies now that all have their own thing that they do really well for people. So I'm very passionate about helping people do well in my industry. I got into this industry because I wanted to create my dream life. I wanted to be, I didn't want to have to depend on anyone. I wanted to create an awesome life for my daughter and have freedom, and to be able to do things that I want to do. And I want other people to be in that position as well.
Amen. Very powerful. Now, Zoe, where can the audience find you?
So I'm on Instagram at the Zoe Abbott, and on every platform. So LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. My website is www.thezoeabbott.com. Zoe Abbott was already taken, but somehow the wasn't, and I was able to keep that the same over all platforms, which was super awesome. So I have a lot of consistency, which is really nice. That's very lucky to be able to do with your name. And yeah, I mean, it's really easy. You can always email me as well. But I'm very easy to contact and reach. And I work across the entire country. My real focus right now is helping people build big businesses in what I do. But I always do take referrals, and people, if they reach out directly, I know what it's like because I was that person. I was that person that had no money, that needed help. And so I always try to make myself as accessible as possible to people. If they want to reach out, if they want to ask a question, if they need anything, I'll always give anyone a little bit of my time.
I love it. Lastly, tell us a little bit more about one of your success stories.
I would say my biggest success story, I'm going to say in business. I mean, obviously we talked about my personal success story, losing under 50 pounds, all that stuff. Personally, the success story I'm the most proud of is that I have a guy that came to me in just 6 figures of credit card debt, just lost his job, behind on his mortgage, had just met a girl that he was really excited about. And in 1 year, I helped him create a 6-figure income in finance. By year 2, he had crossed over $500,000 in income, and he was debt free. And he is just amazing and super successful in the financial area in business. And I have so many stories and examples of people that I helped out of debt through proper programs. And they're all different, by the way. They just fit the people depending on what their situation is. I've helped them save money, protect their families. He's now married and has a baby. I mean, such a great success story. And that's my proudest accomplishment, stuff like that. I've got a bunch of other people that I've worked with, but he's really a bright shining star, and he just helps people all the time, with their finances, because he is the perfect shining example of what we do.
Wow. Absolutely incredible. Now, ladies and gentlemen, make sure to check out Zoe on all of her social media platforms and also her website. And if you need further assistance in regards to business, finances, or any other topic, make sure to reach out to Zoe. And Zoe, thank you for being a guest on the Walk With Me podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
God bless.
Bye-bye.